Hi, my name is Katalin. I'm the owner of POW MMA and Fitness in Chicago's West Loop and Chicago Krav Maga. Obviously, I work with Revgear, and we have a lot of awesome Muay Thai pads and equipment that you can use for your training. But I want to go over just some basic kicking. It's very fundamental, and there's so many different styles of kicks that you can use. If you're coming from a traditional martial arts background, even like myself, it is hard making that transition to stylize your round kick. I kind of categorize rounds as there's roundhouses that are in the snap kick category, and then there's round kicks that have kind of a rising or chopping energy. The snap roundhouse is more of a tag or like a whip. I kind of think of it as like when you take a towel when you're a kid and you whip it out to snap and kind of tag somebody and sting them. It doesn't quite have the power of the round kick that you see being used, of course, by the Thai boxing fighters, the MMA players, as well as maybe the Krav Maga community that's really going for just pure raw power. I think they're both beautiful kicks. I love both of them. It's kind of like having a language and thinking about going from one dialect to the other, even though it's still the same base language. So a snapping roundhouse, which is probably one of the first rounds or roundhouses that I've ever learned because I started in karate, really is going to keep the body in alignment where the knee stays slightly behind the target before it makes contact. So the leg folds back and then you snap it out. So the leg folds, the toes are pointed, and you snap it out. It's really important in that particular roundhouse that the base foot is set up to be turned out. If I do this as a rear leg roundhouse snap kick to make my Taekwondo and karate instructors proud, I'm going to completely, I'll do it from the left side, completely pivot, and as I snap, I still am going to maintain this strong position where my leg snaps back into a chamber or recoils. When I do that, the energy of that kick is, once again, a snap and a fast recoil. It kind of reminds me of a jab in boxing. Now, the Thai round has a little bit more power. It launches from a little bit different type of explosive place in the body. Your hips are going to drive forward, and even with round kicks, there's a lot of variations in how much a person pivots, how much hip roll. Is it a leg round? Is it a check, where you're kind of checking the guy's leg? Are you really kicking and chopping through? And I haven't heard a lot of consistency in the MMA and Thai community about exactly what each round is specifically called. So I kind of come up with my own lingo, and it's more of a descriptive name than one particular name when I'm teaching it to my students. So if I'm going to do a round kick off the lead, whether I'm doing it as a low kick for power, or not, I call it a low round, and I call it basically a 2x4. I want to think of my leg moving up at a diagonal. This is one style, where the kick and the hip angle is about 45 degrees up at the corner of the ceiling. When I deliver that kick, I am a little bit higher up on my leg. I am not like a snap kick, which is more the top of the foot and true ankle crevice, but more of the bottom of the shin and the meatier section. Now with a heavy bag this big, a larger portion of my leg is going to make contact because it's a fatter, wider target and I have a shorter leg. When you're working on the pads, you should be making a connection more in the center strong part of the shin, and your foot should almost be on the other side of the pad. Now I teach keeping your foot formed when you make contact on the Thai pads because of all the accidents that happen when people have this kind of floppy foot at the end. It often comes around and kicks the pad holder in the elbow, and I find that that causes a lot more injuries to your feet. So I still like pointing my toes no matter what because it keeps my toes kind of out of the way when I am making contact. So let's go back to the round kick off the leading position, and more, once again, a low round. It has this whip action. My hips are going to drive forward. And I always think of my leg like it's on a bungee cord. So every time I launch the kick, my leg is going to whip right back down. And this is a huge difference and differentiating characteristic between that Taekwondo, karate, point fighting, roundhouse, snapping kick, and kind of the Thai boxing, street, MMA, maybe a little bit of the Savate guys use this as well, where the leg comes down very quickly, almost in a full extension. You don't bend it or fold it back at the knee. So once again, my hip drive, and that's just a low. Obviously I can do it middle, I can do it high. Now you can also do this where you roll into it, and that's a beautiful kick as well, and that really chops. So I basically tell my students, do the same type of entry on this lead leg round to the legs, but chop, and imagine that you're cutting straight through the middle of their leg, so that the hip rolls and explosively bursts into the target. And then it kind of has this very unique and very, very stylized recoil. And it comes back down. Obviously I can do the same thing with the back leg. It's all good. So those are two distinct differences between the category of a snap roundhouse and kind of the power Thai style round, which once again there are different ways to approach on that, but really understand that you don't want to lead with the knee completely folded if you're doing these power Thai style rounds that drive the hips forward. The hips stay centered, underneath the body, connected to your upper body, and everything is almost sewn together here when you're snapping the Taekwondo or karate style roundhouse. I hope that clears some differences up for you and helps you to organize how the two kicks really look very, very different. Thank you very much.